The Dream Team SMP is one of the most watched gaming spectacles of all time, featuring over 30 well-known Minecraft YouTubers. But who is the protagonist? Who is the main character? Is it Tubbo? Bad Boy Halo? Could it possibly be Callahan? Perhaps the main man himself, Dream? Or even the seemingly innocent GeorgeNotFound? Unfortunately, like the Marvel Cinematic Universe, it's hard to find a decisive, conclusive answer of who the main character/protagonist actually is. It's usually between Iron Man and Captain America, but it kinda stops there. There isn't a definitive single character. In order for us to definitively choose a main character and then a protagonist, we need to remove quite a lot of the members to narrow down the potential candidates. In order for me to do this, I will use a 3-tier character system. Characters that have little/no chance of being the protagonist and are essentially background or side characters will appear in the 3rd tier. The 2nd tier are important characters who appear frequently but are not the centre of the spotlight. And finally, the 1st tier, which is the protagonist candidate list. One other thing I'd like to mention is the fact that this video is based on the events up to and including the Manberg vs Pogtopia war, and everything that takes place after that is for a separate video. So, without the intent to offend anyone, I put the following candidates in 3rd tier. Callahan, Awesome Dude, Alyssa, Ponk, Purpled, Jack Manifold, Nikki, Carl, H-Bomb, Antfrost and Filzer. Then, I put the following characters into the 2nd tier. GeorgeNotFound, who's often present but not actually involved with most of the story than the action, other than the part he played in the Swag 2020 party. Bad Boy Halo, also often present but usually a side character within all of the action. Fundy, Puns, Skeppy, Erit, and Quackity, who are all great characters within the storyline, but they just don't make the cut because they lack protagonist material. And finally, that leaves us with the 3rd tier. Dream, Sapnap, Tommy, Tubbo, Wilbur, Schlatt, and finally,
I have the blade.
Now, obviously you want less than 7 protagonists, so we're going to have to remove even more characters from this list. Firstly, I'd like to quickly clear up a common misconception. In general, the protagonist of a film or story is also the main character, but this isn't always the case. According to the Dramatica definition, the main character is the player whom which the audience experiences the story firsthand, and the protagonist is the prime mover of the plot. This allows us to remove Sapnap, Technoblade and Schlatt from our list, since they don't fully fit into any of these definitions. Sapnap appears frequently in conflict and has even been the root and cause of entire battles, but I still wouldn't say he fits either of the definitions, and I wouldn't really say he's the antagonist either. Technoblade is more of a side character anarchist, who ends up being more and more relevant as the story progresses, and is pretty much centre spotlight towards more recent events, but he comes across more as an antagonist and hasn't been consistently relevant for the majority of the Dream SMP time span, therefore removing him from our candidate list. The same goes for Schlatt, as he was only relevant for a very short time period. This just leaves us with 4 characters, which, if I'm honest, is significantly better than where we started. 2 more can be easily eliminated with some basic explanation. The first is Dream. Dream is undoubtedly one of the main characters, but remember the main character is the player through whom the audience experiences the story firsthand. Dream doesn't make videos related to the SMP, and he rarely even streams it anymore, so how could he possibly be the main character? But after all, it is the Dream SMP, and Dream is undeniably the leader, even if he isn't the president or king. He is technically the main antagonist, although this can appear indirect at times. He's sort of like Aloysius O'Hare from the Lorax. Although the main character and protagonist both see him as an antagonist, he's not really that bad of a guy. As long as everyone's happy, he's happy. This just now leaves us with Tubbo, Tommy and Wilbur, 2 of which are either the main character or protagonist. I'm sure you can see where this is going. Tubbo is the next to be eliminated. Although Tubbo is the president of New Manberg, he has never fully seemed like the main character or protagonist to me. Although lots of people watch the SMP through his point of view, Tubbo strikes me constantly as Tommy's right hand man or Tommy's inferior. It just doesn't feel right eliminating Tommy over Tubbo from a storyline point of view. That just leaves us with Tommy and Wilbur. Can you guess which one is the protagonist? It's actually Wilbur, believe it or not. Hear me out. Remember our definitions? Tommy fits perfectly into the main character definition as the player through whom the audience experiences the story firsthand. I genuinely believe that most people watch the majority of the SMP through Tommy's videos or his streams, as he consistently has the highest viewer count and has been the most engaged character within the SMP in my opinion. He technically started one of the most significant parts of the storyline, the Disc War, which played a large part in the entire storyline even to this day. Tommy is undoubtedly the main character of the Dream SMP, and I cannot be convinced otherwise, although I am very interested to hear your input down below. Finally, I just need to justify Wilbur as the protagonist. We know that the protagonist is the prime mover of the plot, and that Wilbur literally writes the plot. You can't be more of a mover than that, and I already hear you in the comments.
Actually, Wilbur betrayed Tommy and the rest of them by blowing up L'Manberg and siding with Dream, who you said was the main antagonist.
Well, typically, protagonists undergo a change throughout the movie, such as realising something that was not initially apparent to them or perceiving the antagonist differently towards the end of the movie. And think about it, we've had protagonist betrayal in the past. Think back to the old novel Of Mice and Men, if you've heard of it. The protagonist, who's called George, slowly undergoes a change in perception throughout the novel, just like Wilbur, and realises things just can't continue the same way. So George kills Lenny, and he knows nothing is going to change, as history will always repeat itself. The same goes for Wilbur. I believe Wilbur only accepted that agreement with Dream, where he blew up L'Manberg, because he knew nothing was going to change. Put simply, it was never meant to be. Thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed, make sure to leave a like, and if you feel extra generous, it's Christmas time. Try subscribing, it's free, and you can always change your mind later. Thank you all for making 2020 an awesome year, despite it being a really challenging year for everyone to get through. You guys have really made it easier for me, and I hope I've somehow made it easier for you guys as well. Thank you all so much, I really appreciate it. See you later.